So I want to start potentially with the question, even before we go into introductions, who we are, is who used AI in this room to get any kind of information? Nice. I did that actually, like I used AI even to put together some questions for this panel. And I mean, if you use AI daily, you figure out that sometimes the results or the outcome that it provides, it's actually quite questionable. And sometimes you're not getting the answers that you're looking for. So there's definitely something that you can do, like around AI and crypto. And I think this is not crypto, blockchain. This is something that we're going to cover in this panel. Apple has announced an AI product. Google is building an AI. OpenAI, obviously, Twitter has an AI product. So the adoption is there. I think also from the narrative side, in crypto, 22% of total crypto Twitter is talking about AI constantly. So it's been, I think like generally the interest is there. But the question is there a use case? What is the use case? And I'm excited to welcome our speakers here. And let's start with a round of introductions.
Hey, I'm Mats. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Dune. We're a crypto data platform based in Zug, just 20 minutes outside Zurich.
Hi everyone, my name is Mihai. I run Parker research at Messari. By background, I'm mathematician and computer scientist. At Messari, we aggregate on-chain data, including data from Dune. And we try to make it digestible for investors, for enterprises, but also for retail. And in doing so, we're using human intelligence, but also some artificial intelligence.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily. I'm Director of Product at Fox's emerging tech team. We started as Blockchain Creative Labs, but of course have also pivoted to add AI, so rebranded a little bit, but very much at the intersection of AI and media and blockchain, and already talked about Verify a little bit, but very applicable to the scale.
Hi, my name is Antonio. I'm coming from Aleph Zero. I'm heading the enterprise team here. And we are onboarding at the moment enterprises. You saw maybe Deutsche Telekom is on board, Saudi Telecom, and we are trying to collaborate with them and bringing them back where they just started with like Corda or Hyperledger, as some people start talking about it, and we will give it a try.
And I introduced earlier, but I lead business for Avail. Before that, I worked on the Graph, which is implementing AI, LLM, ML, RL stuff into the protocol. And before that, Wall Street, before that, military.
Cool. And my name is Jyrki, so I'm a customer engineer from the Google Cloud team, and I work in the AI space and in the gaming space.
Nice. So I want to start with an opening question. And what do you guys think are the most promising areas when it comes to blockchain and crypto? And where do you think we're going to see really the breakthrough of these two different technologies come together?
You can start.
I think, as you mentioned, in AI right now, any type of output is filtered. And that means that people that don't realize what's going on with the models see it as a logical business output. But that's not so dangerous in, a storytelling or joke sort of way, if you're searching for jokes or something like that. But what if you're searching for truth, like actual truth about governments, about corporations, about pandemics? That is where it becomes absolutely dangerous. And so having open source, transparent, immutable AI options with models and more is going to be extremely important, because we've seen how social media is built out. That ship has sailed, but we have a new chance to build something with a lot more fair background, and I think we kind of owe it to ourselves to do that.
And you're American, right? And elections are coming up.
I'm going to skip that comment.
Perfect segue to Fox. So I was a slightly different angle, I guess, is more from the publisher side standpoint, is a lot of these companies are faced with kind of the decision of, do they just take this kind of easy deal on the table for this all-you-can-eat sort of licensing deal, or is there a different way that that we're exploring with smart contract licensing to provide a lot more nuance and flexibility for these publishers to keep a bit more control over their content and also still be attributed when consumers are really interacting with things downstream, either on social or within these aggregated, like chat GPT over time.
Yeah, so I think there's a great use case for blockchain by pretty much trying to put videos on chain, so essentially storing them on chain and cryptographically verifying them. So I think that's one. But then once you have the video stored on chain under your identity, can you actually look at the history of you as a publisher? Is that legit or not? I don't know. I'm looking at Ella's balloons here. So were they also present at ETC last year? Did I also post some videos at ETC last year? And am I legit or not? And I think there's also like a human component in here by trying to see whether a video has been triangulated by others as well. So does the video exist in also other instances or not? Is it legit or not? Can I trust the publisher? So I think all these three aspects, are a great use case.
Yes, I think going back to what Kyle was talking about, this kind of end of post-truth era and people actually being able to really verify that, okay, taking the default stance that if it's out there and it's not verified, then it's probably fake. That might be, it sounds quite bleak, I would say, but feels very close at the moment.
Thank you.
Like personally for me, I want to have a faster world sometimes. Like if I see here, for example, we have later Lufthansa Svelli or Swiss. I flew with Lufthansa and Swiss to Asia and the flight got delayed. Could happen, right? But then I wanted to get my money back and I have a dream. If I have a flight delay, I have some kind of rights, and if this can be automated. So there's a software maybe on a blockchain, there's a track record, and then there's a fabulous AI who can just connect the data, and I'm getting the payout like tomorrow, and I don't have to claim it. I don't have to write emails. That is a dream for me, and hopefully it will come true. But I don't want to expose all my data as well. More about that later.
Maybe going to the human side of AI. So Google is at forefront of AI. You guys have generative AI, you have machine learning, you have computer vision, languages. I don't know, like there's like a lot of things in AI. I'm not an AI expert, but I wanted to ask you, how are you approaching like ethical considerations and like addressing potential biases in AI at Google?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think Sundar Pichai put it on in 2018, pretty clear that Google is an AI first company. And also at the same date, we pretty much came out with the first draft on the general guiding principles of the Google AI principles on how do we approach this kind of developments here. And one of those principles is on specifically on the bias topic. So obviously covering a lot of use cases that what we don't want to pursue is like weapons and mass surveillance and things like that. And so everything is like publicly readable. You can go and check those through. But one of the key topics was this bias, because there's so many ways how you can introduce bias into these models. And currently it's still a massive research topic that if you can even like figure out what the models are actually doing and how could you better understand where the biases are coming and these kind of things. So definitely it's one of the core guiding principles that people want to think of ethics on this domain, and then not to introduce or like whatever bias is in the training data, for example, so how to mitigate that, how to understand the training data better and how it sort of performs. I think generally it's very hard. You can see, like, if you scroll back 1 year or 2 years, there wasn't much on this domain, and it's moving so quickly. And I think a lot of this is playing out also in the public, so it's not a huge secret that there's been a lot of turbulence when it comes to these ethical branches of AI research. So all of these bigger labs, they've seen a lot of turbulence on the people sort of disagreeing on the way forward, and then it plays out sometimes a bit ugly on the public forum, but a lot of interesting thing going around. So I think now there's this topic of alignment, or even a super alignment. So jumping quite a bit ahead of forward, that there's going to be an AI that's going to be super intelligent, and we somehow would already need to know how to tame that. And a lot of in the academia, a lot of varying viewpoints that if that's even a thing that's going to happen, and these kind of things. So I would say that there's a lot of good intent and a lot of things put down that, okay, we will want to follow this path, but in reality, it's very early and things are moving very fast. So it's really hard to say how it plays out.
And so with that,
On the ethics side, and just being just in what we're building, I do think it's dangerous for really any centralized entity to control the filters and therefore control, people's thoughts in general, of if they're taking this as truth. And so having open models with choice and transparency, meaning if I don't want racist or sexist or whatever in my results, I want to be able to choose that, or I want to know transparently that is part of the model. And so the only way to do that is to have multiple models, and it'd be great if we could actually choose what our biases are. I don't know if we'll get there, but some people, even Eric Voorhees, is working on this with actually 2 companies. So it's great. It's happening in Web3, but I think it's going to take a while.
I think that's actually an interesting point, because when you look at Google, so we have consumer products, direct to consumer, but then the part that I'm coming from, so Google Cloud, we're actually enabling the builders. So whoever wants to build their own models or modify the third-party models, openly available models, or Google models. So then at that point we expose more. So let's say if you talk with Gemini, the assistant, online, so it has certain kind of filters, and those are predicated by Google, and we sort of decide that, okay, what type of topics it engages in and whatnot. But then if you want to use the raw API through Google Cloud, so then the end user will have more control over this one, that, okay, what does the model output? For example, in my use case, let's say gaming company, so they might want to have a adult-rated game, so then it has violence, it has this kind of imaginary language, which Gemini, the assistant, wouldn't produce, but then the raw API is capable on this kind of thing. So then, yeah, it's up to to a certain extent, to the builders who are developing the end user products in this space.
cool.
I'd be curious to learn from Google how you actually deal with removing bias and actually introducing new bias out there. Have been thinking of the second order consequences of that in the models, and how do you deal with it?
I think this, again, like I'm not an expert on specifically, let's say, generating and creating a data set, curating a data set on this kind of topic when training model in Google specs. So I want to make that clear. But I think you have a good point there, because it's already played out in the public arena that, like, when going for a certain good target, you end up creating different kind of bias. So, for example, the famous case of Gemini assistant creating images that are not historically accurate. So then, because it was sort of going towards a more diverse view of world, so then it ended up with these results where you have a founding fathers of the US were very multicultural backgrounded image with I think women and several races, and everybody knows that that's not historically accurate. So then this kind of thing that, okay, the model is very, when it outputs things, it wants to put a very specific view, and then when that's gone too far, I'd say, then it sort of starts to go against itself in this kind of different kind of bias then.
we mentioned decentralization. We also talked about like just being ethical in the space. I'm wondering a little bit about data privacy as well, because AI often is handling data that is not necessarily something that we want to share beyond a certain reach, right? And blockchains are known to be transparent. And I have a question maybe for Antonio. There is how do we process like sensitive information on blockchain, and if we connect blockchains to AI to verify data, how do we ensure that those data remains private?
I like to start with the example. For example, for me in AI, as more data it has, as better it is. Maybe I'm controversial, but it is what it is. And if you have all data on a chain, you can do whatever you want. So with the data, so it would be good to, like for me, if I have a lot of enterprises running on Aleph Zero and they have, for example, a supply chain running, they shall expose your data, the data of the enterprise. Enterprises hate exposing data. That's what you see silos in SAP. We want to open this up on a chain, but how we can prevent this? To give the AI the opportunity to work in the best way, but to have at least data as possible. That is where we come in with the privacy layer, for example, and we as well trying to provide this kind of efficiency with this ZK layer, where we only provide data for the algorithm what is like needed. And that is what we want to do. And Anthony, who will come later as well, just like said to me, hey, click on the link. And then I had a proof of humanity on Aleph Zero testnet, and it was like a milliseconds. And this is one part as well, it takes long. And I'm happy to say we have a good, quite fast solution at the moment. And the other part as well, for the picture example, I saw like as well, like every mobile phone can actually prove that a picture has been done over the mobile phone. And why don't put this on the chain? So you can prevent actually that this picture was like maybe manipulated or changed by an AI, and then you have like crazy results, what we just talked about it.
I have one question about a misconception in the realm of builders. So very often we see protocols that build technology that provide anonymity instead of privacy. And this is often confounded. So if you look at Web2 companies, they want to preserve privacy, but definitely anonymity is a no-go also on the regulatory side. How do you deal with anonymity versus privacy?
It's a good question. We are building on it. Like what we have is something called a shielder. So you can be in a group of different people, and what we are going to do is like if you have a transaction, the group going to transact with you, but within the group you don't know who is transacting with you, and that is how we're shielding it up. So only the people in the group knows who you're transacting with. You are just transacting with the group. Same with execution of a smart contract. Why you don't make a group transacting a smart contract? But if you have a specific key, by the end of the day, you know the transactions, what is coming in. So that's how we're trying to prevent it. It's like on a outside world, you don't know how like what kind of transactions I made. But if you're in a circle, or if you're the regulator, or you name it, you have the option to see what's happening in the group. Does it answer your question?
On that, there are some really big innovations happening in the space with FHE, fully homomorphic encryption, that when banks are getting into the space, even ZK is not enough for them to be comfortable. Let's say when dark pools start to come around, which there's a project working on that now, so FHE would enable that to completely disaggregate the person from their searches in a very private way while still getting the output they need. So that I love seeing all that stuff being built in the space. I think it's applying to DeFi, traditional banks, to get them comfortable with the space as well as this.
There's millions of users even today using AI. Even my mom uses it. The scale is obviously, it goes beyond blockchain. And today, if we look at Ethereum, right, the transaction cost is still, sometimes up to $3 or even more. I'm not sure as a user I would be willing to pay $3 to verify the data. So how do we address this?
I wish we're only paying $3 per transaction on Ethereum. I don't remember the last time I did that. So that's why modularity has come into play. Well, at first, you had Ethereum layer 1. The block space was running out through the auction mechanism, and it just became extremely expensive. Then they went to off-chain compute. That's where rollups came in, Optimism and others, that helped free up some block space. But even then, Optimism, Arbitrum, let's say before 4844, they were paying tens of millions of dollars to post call data. And when you looked at the data, it was $1,300 to $1,600 per megabyte to post call data on Ethereum. Now, after 4844, it's tens of dollars, but that's when not everyone's using all the blobs. When there are hundreds, if not thousands of rollups, there will be congestion pricing, and that will go up exponentially. And so what people are doing is modularizing the stack using things like Avail for external data availability. They keep execution settlement in their chain so they can optimize for cost or security or price or whatever it may be, or speed. And then what they do is they send it out to an external data availability layer, that the transactions are ordered, consensus comes, and then a validity proof goes to a settlement layer, and it ends up being 20 cents per megabyte, if not less. And that's what's important, because like even Celestia and Avail, actually those are the only two, you can expand the block space. Let's say defaults around 2 megabytes. You can just continually double that. You can increase the Excel doc, the matrix, as you're putting information in, double over and over. We've benchmarked up to 128 megabytes per block, which is every 20 seconds, but theoretically it is infinitely scalable. And that's what will keep things low cost. That's what will make it, portions of a cent, let alone 1 cent. Optimism, Arbitrum, they're great right now after for 1 or 2 cents, but it's going to get congested, and it will get expensive even with 4844. So yeah, the modularization is extremely important. If you're a game and you're doing thousands of transactions on a little game, you need to pay a fraction of a cent, and you need to be able to scale. So that's why modularity has really come about.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on this as well, where if you use Ethereum for verifiability or something, depending on your use case, you may be overpaying a lot, right? The sort of economic security that comes with the securing Ethereum might be way overblown for, say, verifying the outputs of the AI that powers a game, right? And this is why me personally and Dune is very excited about a world where there's L1s, L2s, L3s, etc., because it allows us to choose the cryptoeconomic backing to any application. And I just think we need to keep that in mind, especially as AI, we're maybe talking about centralized versus decentralized AI, and how what is the right amount of economic security on these proofs.
Actually, I have a question going to Dune is obviously one of the most widely used data analytics platform. Good knowledge that most. That's the hard, but having the sort of crowdsourced dashboards and so on to build that. How have we guys already been using AI internally, and AI, whatever it is, and how have you seen it use it already? What's the time there, or blockchain data analytics now?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So Dune is a user-generated content platform where we have millions of pieces of content primarily created by humans. But we've recently launched flagship products such as Dune AI that lets people use an AI to create content. And this is really taking off, where maybe people aren't creating content 100% using AI, but I would say that 90% of the content that's created on Dune today is AI assisted. So either using the tools that we have built or using something like ChatGPT.
Right.
And so this is really happening. And when I think about we're probably we'll end up discussing things like, how do we know if the output of an AI is real or something like this? I think we have the same problem with user-generated content, right? If I see a dashboard that a user has created on Dune today, I have no way of knowing, very easily at least, if it's correct. And so AI, be it on Dune or any other user-generated platform, will just accelerate the same problem that we currently have. And hopefully this just means that we put a lot more attention to the problem of like verifying the correctness of things. But I see it as just an acceleration of existing problems.
Yeah, so we at Messari are first consumers of Dune Analytics, and we write a lot of queries, and we're part of the community. We're leveraging it. Also, we're leveraging AI to write better queries. But then at the end of the day, you want to verify whether the data that we put together is actually correct or not. And in that case, we do triangulation. So we try to see whether what we've put together on Dune Analytics platform actually matches the data that Gelato has or the data that Avail has. And then we're speaking with protocols, and we're trying to see to what extent there is a lot of mismatch between the different data sets. And we're trying to combat it like that.
So maybe to follow up on also like cheap transactions, that obviously enables a lot of new use cases that potentially haven't been able, we weren't able to build before. And that also enabled the new use case working together with Fox. And Fox bets big on blockchain, and I want to understand like what was the motivation on your end to build this platform, and how does it connect to verification?
Yeah, sure. So kind of taking a step back in time, BCL or Blockchain Creative Labs was kind of founded out of the idea of exploring content creation and distribution and monetization, which is kind of at the heart of everything Fox does. And they've traditionally been pretty disruptive in the media space. So exploring blockchain was just kind of one other avenue to look into the same things. And then in terms of where we started, it was a lot of NFT consumer products kind of during the bull run. And by having that expertise, it enabled us to be able to take a jump into something like Verify. And the inspiration, as I mentioned, was kind of by looking at what we saw happening with AI adoption and how publishers' content was kind of just, getting scraped and ripped off. And we were hearing that from our peers in the space as well. But then also from the Web3 side of it, seeing also what was working really well with things like Lens and Farcaster, but feeling like it wasn't really solved for use cases outside of social. So that was kind of the inspo. And then we started with news content and publications, but really thinking that Verify can be much broader and take on a lot of other media types.
You talked a little bit about different kind of products you're building, and obviously that comes with different kind of audiences. You have publishers, you have builders, you have end users using your platform. What did you take in consideration where you were, putting together your chain?
Yeah, so kind of to start first and foremost, we were building kind of with Fox in mind as the first user, and it's kind of an interesting job to wear kind of like the protocol and Verify product hat, but also the first user publisher hat day in and day out. And by doing that, I think a lot of the considerations we touched on was like, obviously people don't want to give up their data or put it in somewhere that it's going to be shared with competitors. And then also on kind of the read side, as you mentioned, the high volume, we wanted to make it as easy for consumers to not be hit with transaction costs time and time again, because we feel on verified chain, the volume will really come from that read side, less so than even on the publishing write side. So by taking this approach with the chain, we've had a lot more flexibility in terms of the configuration and also the path to make it more decentralized over time as, adoption and comfort with these large enterprises or other builders come along. And I think the other part that's important that a lot of people have talked about today is the chain and account abstraction. So really working on that in tandem with really driving costs down for publishers, because for them, kind of our North Star in design is it can't disrupt their normal operating and editorial workflows, and has to have upside in joining the chain.
Just for curiosity reasons, because you could build this on a Web 2 way as well, right? Like, what would you say, what's the biggest benefit of Web 3 using this?
Yeah, so I think twofold. One is the content provenance that some folks have mentioned, but then two, I think the thing that we're most bullish about is the smart contract licensing. So enabling just different mechanisms of either one-off asset access or just being to kind of have like another bite of the apple with your content and who's able to access it. And then also hoping that we can really get to a place where there is, that burgeoning app ecosystem where not only Fox, but other media content can mix and reach, have more reach.
Yeah, so I'm curious, if I post a video from the Gelato event and I take away the balloon from here and I post it in Twitter, how would Verify help you just to realize that it's a fake video, but it was transformed?
Good question. So in terms of determining if something's AI generated or manipulated, that's a little bit less of the focus of it. Whereas Verify's main focus is binding assets to their real world owner and then tracking that provenance over time. So we do have an alpha beta app that we built just to give kind of a flavor of what it could look like to build a app on top of Verify, where we focused on image manipulation, just using pretty rudimentary like PDQ hashes to compare them. But in terms of that being the main value prop, it's not as much the case.
I think we're running at time. I got a nod on the watch. So maybe a last question for everyone here. What is the prediction? Where we're heading? Is mainstream adoption of Web3 and AI? How is it coming along? And what's your prediction for 2024 and beyond?
Not an easy prediction to make, I think. I'll do an hope instead, which is that one of the things that we do well in crypto, or at least should do well, is decentralization. And I think AI is maybe more dangerous centralized than money is. And so I really hope that over time, AI and crypto or blockchains blend so that we can have decentralized AI, because I think that's the best thing for humanity.
Yeah, we had Vitalik 2 weeks ago in Berlin saying ZK everything, and we observed that the cost for ZK proofs continues to go down. So I think there's going to be more and more integration of ZK proofs in more and more applications, but that's going to come slow but steady.
I think I've already touched on the content licensing kind of being the thing top of mind from my side, but I guess just another one. I think there's probably some more low-hanging fruit in terms of the UX of just Web3 apps that AI could help with, even simple things, just for user kind of safety or, tooltip type things as well.
I'm excited on Gelato's end, potentially like bringing AI on chain. We have actually, I'm going to do a shameless plug, a really cool feature or product. It's called Functions. And we had a couple of demos where we were actually connecting it to Chat GPT and also, what was it, Louis? The DALL-E, yeah. So bridging generative AI on chain. And I think this will really enable a lot of really cool use cases in gaming, in NFTs, and entertainment and beyond.
I like what you said as well and want to continue on that. The nation state, we have a lot of different islands having around. And I think AI can help bridging this, because everyone as well on us thinks differently, enterprises works differently, and AI has the capability to bridge it, because sometimes I feel my girlfriend doesn't understand me, but ChatGPT does. So, so yeah, but same with enterprises, you know, even having like, getting this example with Lufthansa or Swiss, they have two systems, but they are like under one union. Why not use AI with the ZK, where I don't have to expose all the data and make it happen, make it one union?
My prediction is that it's going to take much longer than we expect to have anything really workable that is going to have mass adoption. What I do see happening this year already is the GPU compute needed to power AI, as well as the data storage, will likely come from crypto infrastructure because it's more resilient, more scalable, and so that's kind of all I see for this year, probably.
Yeah, maybe a prediction, maybe not much to ask, but maybe this kind of a dream state, like working in the gaming. I feel there's a lot of hope for this kind of a user-generated content aspect, and then I would want to see some kind of blockchain solution to enable this kind of remixability. So I was watching the gaming panel earlier, and this kind of thing that, okay, if you own something in one game and you want to bring it to other game, so now it's sort of no one has incentive to go model a football player from FIFA to Fortnite and play as the football player. But if you can generate that content, and it becomes easier through AI to actually do these customized user-generated content. So how would you then make sure that whoever owns the content gets a piece of the pie, and then it sort of everybody would somehow benefit out of that, and the end user would get a better experience, a nicer personalized experience?